The Marvel Rivals beta is in full swing and I got to try it for myself. Let's have a look. I already made a video a few months ago on where the Marvel Rivals, Nandy's hero shooter, based on the popular Marvel franchise, and that is in closed beta right now, is the Overwatch killer. I'll leave a link to the video below. But spoiler, no it's not. And that is not because Marvel Rivals is not a good game, but simply because there's only one game that can kill Overwatch, and that is Overwatch. In this video, I want to look at Marvel Rivals and see if it's living up to the hype. And it has been a hype. These beta keys were very sought after. I sadly missed the alpha a few months ago, but some of my community members were playing at the time, and they were streaming it on my Discord, so I got to see quite a lot of gameplay. And that gameplay convinced me to try and get a beta key for this new phase of testing. And I did it the way everybody else did it, by watching a stream at 3 in the morning. In any case, I made it in, and when I'm recording this, I hit around level 12. So yeah, I did put in some time. And this is my impression of Marvel Rivals as someone that has thousands of hours in Overwatch. And let me start out by stating that I've actually only been playing Marvel Rivals lately, apart from 1 or 2 games of Overwatch that I squeezed in left and right. And the main reason for that has been that, yeah, the beta is only lasting for 2 weeks. I need to take advantage. And on top of that, currently there's not a lot going on in Overwatch. I think Blizzard is currently in their summer vacation as, well, in a few weeks, Season 12 is about to start. Second of all, this is a brand new game. That is always exciting. The same reason why people are so keen on playing new heroes in Overwatch, for instance. And third, it is a fun game. Period. Thank you for watching. Okay. The number one selling point for Marvel heroes for me personally are the heroes. I love Marvel, and it's just so much fun to play Rocket Raccoon, or Thor, Iron Man, to see Spider-Man swishing by, but to hear someone get Loki smashed by the Hulk. Besides that, the art looks amazing. Both the maps and the heroes have so much detail and are very nicely stylized. Third, they incorporate story elements within the PvP gameplay. And a lot of people seem to forget this, but Overwatch does the same thing. But they rather insinuate the story. Like on King's Row, for instance. The attacking team is actually escorting an EMP bomb straight into the Omnic part of King's Row. I don't know if people will still realize this, but if you win a match on King's Row as an attacker, you're setting off an EMP bomb in the midst of Underworld, where all the Omnics live. Yeah, you guys are monsters. On Gibraltar, for instance, you see that rocket taking off at the end of the match. You're escorting a Trojan treasure on Junkertown. And there's so many of these stories. But Overwatch never really kind of explains them. They insinuate them left and right. There might be a comic, a short story. In Marvel Rivals, they do a better job of that. And not only in the loading screens or in the animations at the start of the match, but for instance, there are actual NPCs running around on the map while you're playing. You might not always notice it, but yeah, that's something for later. I'm actually working on a video with suggestions on things that are in Marvel Rivals that the Overwatch team might want to look at. That video's coming soon, so make sure to subscribe. And this touch of PvE and story within the PvP is one of them. I wouldn't mind to see some NPCs on some of those maps. Another selling point for Marvel Rivals is the diversity in heroes. Sure, they do tend to copy heroes from other games like Overwatch and Paladins, but they also have a few unique ones. Like the last one that they added is Jeff the Land Shark. It's just like it is described. It's basically a baby shark on legs that can pop bubbles. He can dive underground, and when he does, he makes that jaw sound. But it's so cute. And that is, of course, the advantage of having that whole Marvel catalog at your disposal. Sure, they are the classics, but Marvel also has these more obscure heroes. And those will allow them to add some variety to the roster, some surprises. That being said, I think over time that IP is going to start become a little limiting, because there are certain expectations that come with that IP. And the Marvel fans are not easy when it comes to stuff like that. Yeah, they get upset. You know what? They'll have to cross that bridge once they get there. That was about everything that stood out for me as selling points. Let's bring the enthusiasm back a little bit. The team-ups. Great idea. But for now, it feels very gimmicky. I do think they have potential, but the impact isn't always there. And that might partially be because people are still discovering the game and the heroes. But I also think it's partly due to the general chaos that is the gameplay of Marvel Rivals. But I'll get back to that in a second. Let me first give you an example of why I'm not very impressed right now about these team-ups. I personally play a lot of Rocket Raccoon, and he actually has a few team-ups. For instance, he can climb on Groot's shoulder, and that will give them a damage reduction. Thing is, at that point, Rear becomes in control of all the movement. And apart from it being extremely nauseating to be on top of that big tree as it kind of wanders around, it also is a bit of a liability. Rocket is one, if not the most potent support, or at least healer. His healing output is insane. But to get that done, he needs to be able to move. On top of that, he also has a lot of mobility in his kit, so he doesn't really need the damage reduction. He can escape attackers in other ways. So in other words, you're going to be more useful for your team if you're not climbing that tree. At least that was my experience. A second team up he can do is with the Punisher, Frank Castle. Rocket can drop this drone, kind of a pillar, that will give the Punisher infinite ammo. The thing is, he needs to be within the vicinity of that drone, which makes a lot of sense. What I've noticed though is that most Punisher players will try and flank, and all of these maps have a lot of verticality. The only moment that you actually feel comfortable dropping that drone is when he's in turret form. Can jump on a turret and kind of shoot. It's kind of like old Bastion, but it's not. The thing is, because he's always trying to flank, they'll usually do that somewhere up high on the ledge where they think they cannot be spotted, which is not a place where you as Rocket can get as easily, especially if you don't want to abandon your team. So in the end, you just don't bother. You have other fish to fry, like Spider-Man that is chasing you, or your Venom overextending again. Now look, I don't want to sound like all of the community in Rivals are a bunch of dumbasses, which they definitely are not. I think overall the group quality is actually quite okay. If I play late at night, I get better groups in Rivals than I do in Overwatch. It actually supports instead of fake DPS. And yeah, they use this system of an open queue with a suggestion to 2-2-2. So as long as you don't have that 2-2-2 format, they'll try and give you hints like, hey, maybe you need to switch. And to be honest, in about 90% of the cases, I'm playing 2-2-2 or 2-3-1, and that 1 being the tank and the 3 being DPS. And occasionally, in the other 10%, I'll sometimes be the only hero in a full group of DPS, but those games generally don't last that long. Yeah. Can also happen in other comps. There's a lot of stalling on one end, and on the other hand, things will snowball very fast and you'll get stomped really hard. It really reminds me of old Overwatch. One reason is yet again people still discovering the game and the heroes. But there's also another reason, in my opinion at least. I feel like there's a lot of randomness to the gameplay. It's very chaotic, which on the short term can be a lot of fun, especially when you're winning the game, but it can also be very frustrating at moments. And in the long run, if that should stay, it is going to hinder the game. Some of the abilities can be very OP, and from what I hear, they have been OP since the alpha. One and the same ability can have such a different outcome. That third-person standpoint adds a lot of visual clutter. And that visual clutter is already very over the top. Because of destructive environments, for instance, which can be fun on one end, but they also break your sense of oversight and organization. On top of that, there's environments will respawn after a certain time, which only adds to the chaos because slowly these buildings are coming back. Most of the heroes in that game do not use guns, but rather abilities that have a lot of effects to them, both visually and audio effects. Again, adding to the whole mayhem that is Marvel Rivals. The role definition is not as clear-cut as in some of the other games, at least not for all the heroes. On top of that, the information that you're getting from the game and the UI is okay. In any other game it would have been good, but it simply is not strong enough or not rigid enough to kind of block out all of the chaos, to bring order to everything that is happening in front of you. I swear, there have been so many instances that I got killed randomly and I had no idea what happened to me. I didn't see it coming, there was no build-up, there was just death, suddenly. It is so hard to keep an overview, to read your enemies, to even read your teammates. So it basically becomes this, I don't know, version of multiplayer duck hunt where you start shooting anything that moves. Alright, it might not be that bad, but for as much fun as that game is, right now the gameplay is not in a solid state. It's not predictable enough. For me personally, it feels closer to Paladins than it does to Overwatch. But yeah, again, it's a beta, it's a start, and that's also why it gets laggy sometimes. Loading into the game can take a while. But on top of that, I've had so many games where I run to the objective, and the moment I get there, I get teleported back to spawn because the game can't keep everything in check. According to the game, I'm still in spawn. I was there! I swear! Good God. But that is something they'll probably fix by release. When it comes to gameplay, however, I don't know. This game has a lot of fun elements, things that make it interesting. The graphics, the heroes, to a certain extent the third-person perspective, the effects, the destructible environments. The problem is that a lot of those qualities at some point also become an issue. Issues that are going to be very important to the competitive part of that game. Issues with readability, overview, predictability. Things that Overwatch has been working on for the last 8 years and they haven't figured out completely yet. I think we're going to see some changes in the next few months till release. The release date has not been set yet, so I do think they still have a few months to go. And this beta is definitely going to impact that result. They're going to get a lot of feedback and that is going to help him out. There's also going to be other heroes added, new maps, so we'll see where we end up. But for now, I think Marvel Rivals is going to earn its own spot in this whole spectrum of hero shooters. And for me personally, it's going to be that more casual shooter that I'll definitely pick up regularly. I mean, Paladins up till now has always been my second favorite, although I haven't played it in a few years. But yeah, they just got bumped hard. Good job. For now, however, that was it. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. It really helps me out. I also want to thank my patrons. I could not make these videos without you guys. You have my eternal gratitude. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out this video. Click it. But above all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye bye.